I started getting people knocking on my door looking for notary services. So I built a really simple website that allowed people to book a notary service with me. And I pretty quickly figured out SEO. I got the website ranking really well in Ottawa. And so before I knew it, I had a lot of people booking appointments, and then they wanted to book in the evenings and on weekends. And I started to meet with clients really at any time. And somewhere along the way, I realized that this wasn't just a side hustle. This was a proper business. This was a real operating enterprise that needed staff. It needed resources. It needed funding and advertising. But the big turning point was when the pandemic hit, which was where the Ontario government here, like our provincial government, legalized what's called remote commissioning, or sometimes people call it online notary, but the technical service is remote commissioning. And so we were able to launch really Canada's first remote commissioning service. And the same day we launched, we had our first client. And that's when we really knew that this was a real business.
Welcome, everyone. We are live today with Robert Onley, the founder of NotaryPro, one of Canada's leading online notary and legal documents platform. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you. Yeah, great to be with you.
Great to be with you as well. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm the founder and chief legal officer for NotaryPro. We are a Canadian online notary public and commissioning service. We are Canada's largest provider of notary services. And we've recently launched in the United States. And what we've built is a really powerful and simple tool that allows people to meet with a notary online, whether on their desktop or their mobile, and have a document digitally signed and validly notarized or commissioned in just 7 minutes or less. And really excited to continue expanding our services as we grow, particularly in the US market, which I'd be happy to chat about here as we go.
Oh, very, very interesting. So basically, Notary began as a side project and grew into a network of more than 210 notaries. When did you realize this was no longer just a useful service, but a company capable of changing how Canadians access everyday legal help?
Yeah, I mean, I started it as a side hustle, sort of as you mentioned there. I was a junior lawyer. I was working in a law firm in Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada, and I started getting people knocking on my door looking for notary services. So I built a really simple website that allowed people to book a notary service with me. And I pretty quickly figured out SEO. I got the website ranking really well in Ottawa. And so before I knew it, I had a lot of people booking appointments, and then they wanted to book in the evenings and on weekends. And I started to meet with clients really at any time. And then at a certain point, I realized that I couldn't handle the volume. And I was basically, I had too much work through my own side hustle. So I set up a really simple contract that allowed me to refer notary clients to other notaries across the city of Ottawa. That then grew into the largest notary company provider in the city of Ottawa. And then after about a year of that, I started getting notaries from other cities across Canada apply to join NotaryPro. And somewhere along the way, I realized that this wasn't just a side hustle. This was a proper business. This was a real operating enterprise that needed staff. It needed resources. It needed funding and advertising. And so I was fortunate enough in, I think, 2019 to meet my current business partners, David Barter and Charles Siegel, who we still all work together. And we started having conversations, and David has a marketing background, and Charlie has a tech background and a sales background. And so you kind of combine marketing plus legal plus sales, and you have a pretty good foundation for a business. And, in some ways the rest is history, which, I can touch on. But the big turning point was when the pandemic hit, which was where the Ontario government here, like our provincial government, legalized what's called remote commissioning, or sometimes people call it online notary, but the technical service is remote commissioning. And so we were able to launch really Canada's first remote commissioning service. And the same day we launched, we had our first client. And that's when we really knew that this was a real business. So I can, touch on more about that as we go.
Yeah, that's a strong example of recognizing a bigger opportunity very early. And yeah, unlike what you did, a lot of founders, wait for complete proof before treating their ideas seriously. But your experience showed that customer demand and repeated problems and steady growth can reveal the real opportunity before the founder actually fully understands how large the business could become.
Yeah, and I think in the case with notary businesses, or notary services, I should say, the reality is like notaries are in every state, every country, every province around the whole world, every single country. So it's really like an understood service. When you need a notary, you need a notary. There's no other option. You can't sort of come up with your own DIY solution. You have to go and meet with a notary. So in many ways, we had a really nicely defined box. We knew what the service was, what it wasn't, and we were fortunate enough to be working, with my co-founders and building something that had a really good technical solution, which is what we call online notary, um, to be able to attack that market because the notary services market is it's kind of easy to overlook. It's really like a small niche of legal services, but at least in Canada, no one had really ever tried to fundamentally attack it with a systematic, nationalized service platform, transparent pricing, standardized service, excellent customer service, which is something we can chat about. And so that's what we did. We set a bunch of goals, and we really stuck to our that plan to achieve them. And you can look us up on Trustpilot, which is sort of a third party review service that where you cannot fake the reviews. The reviews are all verified by real customers, and we now have over 10,000 reviews, and I think our average rating is either 4.8 or 4.9 out of 5. And so when over the years when I've been talking with other people, whether it's venture capitalists or private equity, like people that look to scale and fund businesses, I always reference our Trustpilot rating because you can't make that up. You can't fake it. You can't
Yeah.
um, fraudulently boost that number. So that that rating and that review number really speaks to the core of the company, which is it's a very customer service first mindset and mission. And I fundamentally believe having that as the mindset has allowed us to scale and to continue to grow so consistently year over year.
Yeah, well, having such a great proof enhances the trust between you and whoever wants to fund the company and boost confidence as well. That's very impressive. And when the pandemic forced the legal industry to move online, and not only the legal industry, a lot of things moved online. Notary Pro already had a major head start. So I want to ask, what did that moment teach you about the difference between being early with an idea and being truly prepared when the market finally catches up?
Yeah, well, I would say what's interesting is we had this idea of remote commissioning or online notary before the pandemic. It was something that we had talked about for about a year prior, not because we knew the pandemic was coming. Obviously, no one did in terms of like how it would hit, but we did have this idea of like, hey, could we put this all online? What would that look like? So we had actually been actively mocking up sort of ideas and prototypes and conceptualizing what the service would look like in advance. And so we had the advantage of having all the data from our in-person clients. So one thing I didn't mention is as we scaled the pre-online notary business, so the in-person business, at a certain point we had maybe about 100 locations, NotaryPro locations across Canada. So we had a lot of data from those locations about documents, document type, seasonality, trends with documents, even sort of regional trends depending on where people were, what documents were being signed. So we knew a lot about what the market and what the service was, and so then just simply translating it online wasn't nearly as complicated. And we also had the advantage of the platform Zoom, which we sort of take for granted now, video calls like we're doing right now. Back then, Zoom was sort of novel still. People were like, oh, wow, it's so great. It's sort of in that early pandemic era. And so we would say to people who wanted to try online notary, we'd say, yeah, it's just like Zoom plus DocuSign. And so people it kind of clicked and they understood what we meant when we described it like that. And that allows for easier adoption. But I would say honestly, we were in those early days, we were building the plane as it was flying. Like we were just constantly patching stuff, fixing stuff, adding new features, adding a button that we should have had from day one, but obviously we didn't think of it, stuff like that. So, um, and I think ultimately the head start we had, if you will, back then, it's really only valuable if we used it to get ready for the competition, for regulatory changes, et cetera. And I would say in our case, that's what happened. We had that sort of first to market, first mover advantage in Canada, and we positioned our platform as the leading platform, and now that's what it is.
Oh, wow, wow. So, scaling from back then, what was the hardest part when demand suddenly increased?
Well, we had to upgrade all of our infrastructure. So, particularly on the video side and the database side, the e-signing tool as well. There was, a fundamental decision we made early on, which was to just buy an e-signing solution rather than build our own. That is something that the e-signing market, in our opinion, is completely commoditized. So there wasn't really any genuine business case to build our own e-sign API from scratch. And then in terms of video infrastructure as well, we were leveraging pretty proven video APIs at the time. Um, I think probably where there was the biggest change is just on the service side. We had to staff up. We had to really quickly adjust our staffing model to ensure that that there was actual margin there to have a real business. Um, that's stuff that I think you could take for granted or you can kind of forget, in terms of what it means to scale a business. There's no given that the decisions you're making are going to be financially stable or financially viable. And so we had to really make sure that we were doing things in a way that kind of obeyed the number one rule in business, which is you got to be making money. Um, I mean, there's obviously exceptions to that when you're talking about taking venture capital money and scaling and that kind of thing. But we always had the basic rule, which is it has to make money. Whatever decision we're doing, it has to generate revenue. We're not doing this for fun. It's not just sort of a side project that we can let fail. It was a real business.
Yeah, business is business.
That's right.
Yeah, and your promise is also built around convenience and simplicity, including connecting people with Notary online about 7 minutes, which you said earlier. What had to change behind the scenes? Is it the technology operations? What had to change behind the scenes to make such a fast experience feel safe and professional?
Well, I think one of the things is we consider our platform a tech enabled service. So we had to, number one, figure out where we fit in the marketplace, both from a regulatory perspective, but also in terms of how we position the service. So we've had conversations with the different provincial regulators here about how we position the service itself. Is it legal services? Is it notary services? Is it commissioner services? There's all these different technical legal terms, and the differences matter. Um, and we've had to be clear that we're not a law firm. We're not providing legal services as defined by the legal regulators. We are providing basically a sub service of legal services, which is notarizing documents. And we've also, we provide legal templates. So we provide templates through our website that users can fill out really quickly online. And those templates really are provided free of charge. And so there's another kind of line there where we're not pretending that we are a law firm providing legal templates directly to clients. It's more of a free DIY or kind of self-serve reality. So we've had to become, I would say, experts at accuracy in the description of our services so that we don't misinform or confuse the clients. The reality, though, in our space and in our market is that it's, I would say, innately kind of confusing. Anytime you talk about legal anything, there's a certain sort of barrier to entry in terms of either you are familiar with the terms or you're not. And so that's something we've always tried to work towards, is just speaking clearly, speaking plainly, using simplified English if possible on our website and in our content so that we don't risk confusing people with too much legalese. And that's that kind of tension. We need to be thorough and accurate without confusing people. And I think that's where we've excelled. Again, looking at our reviews.
Well, making a legal service that fast and simple, is very impressive. It's very impressive. And
Yeah,
yeah,
thank you.
speed matters also, but customer also need to feel safe and understood and also confident. And the strongest service does not only remove waiting time, it also give clear instructions and protects personal information, reducing risk, and so making the customer feel supported throughout the process. So
Yeah, I mean, we're we're always looking at really just the best way of getting people through our service flow. So we have this sort of overall customer service standard of 7 minutes or less. That's not a hard rule. Like if your appointment takes more than 7 minutes, that's fine. There's no penalty or anything for our team or something. But we try to emphasize the speed, but we will never sacrifice the quality of the service by doing something too fast, right? So we're not pretending that it's a McDonald's drive-through or you're doing this like ultra fast. It's
yeah.
more so that we're trying to position the speed of the service as a value proposition for trying online, for doing the whole thing online. We still maintain a large network of notaries. There's almost 300 across Canada, and you can still go to a local notary at any time, any day, and find a NotaryPro location. But we've really tried to be clear that, like, for most documents, you can sign them remotely. You can sign them online through our platform. So
Yeah.
that really does make the most sense for most people to have that option. And again, you don't have to leave your house. You could be at your desk like you are right now. I mean, if you had a document right now that you needed to notarize, we could do it on this video call, right? Like that's how easy and intuitive it is. So um, and we fundamentally believe that that is a service that should and will be offered globally. There are more countries that are legalizing remote notary services basically every year. And we believe that our platform is very well positioned to ultimately be a global services platform, and to help capture a lot of that notary service market as it expands globally. So we can really we can only do that if we keep the service as simple as possible and as clean and clear as possible for the vast majority of users.
Oh, impressive, impressive. Notary Pro has expanded from notarization into document creation, electronic signing, and a broader legal solutions. How are you thinking about the company's next evolution, and where do you draw the line between simplifying the legal work and giving users a false sense of certainty?
Well, I think one of the words I haven't mentioned yet is artificial intelligence, AI. We right now, Notary Pro employs a lot of AI in the back end and in our operations. One thing that we've just started to do in the last year is deploy some client facing AI. So if you go on our template, legal template creator, we have an AI that's called Clara that is used primarily to clarify any questions that are used, or sorry, in relation to documents that clients have when they're using our services. So Clara AI is sort of our first effort at leveraging LLMs to provide quick answers, clear answers, that are contextually aware of what the user's need is. Beyond that, we're going to be really enhancing our document creation portfolio, and then what we're looking at is what we call legal adjacent services, where the same overall trust and verification infrastructure applies. So You can think about the fact that when you notarize a document, you need to swear an oath to the notary. You also need to have your ID verified. You have to be physically present at the time of the signing. These are all very human things that I think differentiate our service from these platforms where you just simply fill out a form and you get an email and you never talk to a human, you don't see a human, you don't even have a chance to communicate with somebody else. And so we believe that that overall service model, where there's a what we call a human in the loop, or sometimes called a human fire
Yeah.
break, like a sort of a stop. We believe that's a significant value proposition for these other legal adjacent services that we're exploring and we're looking at beyond just notary. So that is, I think, kind of the best that I can share at this point in terms of where we're going next. But it is something that we're really excited about because the AI tools that are out there, they are obviously incredibly powerful, and so we are looking at how to harness them in a way that humans can leverage and that clients can um, make sense of as part of our service offering.
Yeah. So yeah, speaking of AI, because week after weeks, AI keeps on improving. So which part of the routine legal work should become more like automated, and which part will still require the judgments of maybe paralegals, lawyers, or the notaries?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of really simple buckets. So anything to do with like scheduling, routine compliance checking, even ID verification, basic document assembly. I think AI or even just purely deterministic flows can be leveraged to complete those steps. Translating documents or providing a summary of a document. I think we've for the most part, if you've been using any of these major LLMs, whether it's GPT or Claude or Gemini, et cetera, over the last 2-3 years, like you've learned that you can more or less trust it for that kind of stuff. Where I think that there's still that need for the human and to keep the human is anything that requires judgment. So when we're talking about someone's capacity, like are they personally capable of signing the document? Do they understand what they're signing? Um, and then anything to do with intent. Do they actually intend to sign this document? Are they being forced? Are they being coerced? Is somebody else, making them sign it? And then also, do they understand the legal effect of the document? So there's still that professional judgment piece where I think only a human can actually make that call. And of course, one day AI may be able to do this, and maybe we have, some new version of AI that I can't conceptualize right now. But we, excuse me, we want to ensure that the human is still kept there for these judgment steps. I think
Yeah.
as long as possible, while AI can be used to reduce the friction that gets you to that step.
Yeah. That's a very balanced way to look at AI in the legal industry, and yeah, in as much as AI can handle the repetitive tasks like basic document preparation, gathering information together. The human touch is always needed when a situation gets involved, maybe with conflict and emotional decisions or serious consequences that require professional judgment and personal responsibility. The human always will have to come in the loop because these are the things AI can never handle. We don't know. I don't think the AI can ever and handle these kind of things even in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely bullish on where AI is going to take us all. Like, I think it's going to continue to sort of blow our minds, as they say. But I completely agree with you. The human in the loop is imperative. Um, I know that at the end of the day, like our business is growing at the same time as all of these AI tools are in the market and flooding the market. So um, I think two things can be true at the same time, and maybe our little notary business in the scheme of things is just a tiny example of that. But we're committed to be using AI responsibly to enhance our services and frankly to make them more efficient. If it can help us drive a bit of improved margins or efficiency gains, absolutely we're going to be doing that, and we already are.
Yeah. Wow. Impressive. And as you scale the company, what signals are you watching out for closely? Is it customer trust, appointment speed, or something else? And how do those signals help you decide where to invest and what to improve?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely very dialed in on a daily and weekly basis on our core metrics. You know, whether it's our overall revenue, booking volume. We definitely very closely track our average appointment time because there's a direct correlation between our staffing model, our margins, and our overall customer service quality. Um, and we're always looking at ways to increase and improve the automations and the steps that we can take to increase the speed of the appointment. Um, at the same time, yeah, we're looking at a lot of SEO and GEO and analytics in terms of what's driving our web traffic, our conversion ratio, and how we can optimize the website. So we've definitely become much more experimental in terms of how to improve the website itself. And we're using a lot of analytics to ensure that we're providing the most optimized experience. And then in terms of the competition, I mean, we're very aware of who our competitors are, both in Canada and the US. And we definitely do a lot of benchmarking against the competition to understand how are they positioning service X, or how are they allowing service Y to flow through their website? Is there something we can learn from, how a competitor provides and books the service? Because we're very much open to learning from good competitors.
Incredible. I'm curious, who are your other competitors who are also doing the notary business?
Yeah, I mean, if you look up just online notary in the US, there's a couple of bigger players. Probably the most well known is just simply called notarize.com. There's a few others, I think Notary Cam, Blue Notary, and then in Canada there's Red Seal Notary, as well as notarize.ca. So it's definitely a market that exists. There are several players, but it's one that in a lot of ways there's not a lot of, I think, interest in necessarily starting a brand new business in the space, just because of the level of effort needed to stand up an SEO dominant platform. um, but at the same time, I don't know what tomorrow will bring. There could be a company that's doing something else right now, and they're going to pivot into our space. So that's why we are always aggressively looking at
Yeah.
where we can define new revenue lines, how we can increase the lifetime value out of our current clients, increase the average order value as our proven client base stabilizes, and we continue to scale with them.
So if your the competitors you just mentioned are Notary Pro, what is Notary Pro doing differently?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think I mentioned we're really committed to the customer service piece. It's really, I think, what underpins our success. We're also just really committed to exceptional, experiences. So our app is constantly being updated, really every week with new releases and new features. A lot of those features the clients will never see, but it's on the back end that's allowing us to either do something more quickly or do something more effectively, so that the client has less friction on their side. So whether it's using AI to detect documents that cannot be signed online, because there are still a few that cannot be, or
Yeah.
using AI to detect documents that have been pre-signed, and then automatically sending an email to the client asking them to upload an unsigned document. There's all these little things that, if you sort of peek behind the curtain of what our operation looks like every day, I think people would be impressed at the level of detail that's gone into our backend tool, and that's again how we have such a highly rated service. It's not an accident, it's not a fluke, and we are committed to just continually improving the overall service package and portfolio of services as we scale.
Wow, 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 it's very impressive, very impressive. So, guys, this is Notary Pro to you all. So, wherever you see in Canada or any part of the world, make sure to check out Notary Pro. So, thank you very much, Rob, for having time with me.
Thank
And
you.
I really value your time and openness. do you have any last remark for our audience?
Yeah, just check us out at notarypro.com, or if you're in Canada, notarypro.ca. We'd love to, have you try our platform, check out our free legal templates, and spread the word. We also offer what we call virtual witnessing. It's a service where you can sign your will or power of attorney online with a notary. That's available in Ontario, Canada only at the moment, but it's a really powerful and popular service. So, we're excited to offer that out to the market. And yeah, welcome anyone. Feel free to reach out by email or on LinkedIn if you'd like to chat. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you very much as well. So guys, I'll put Rob's website and his other links in the description below. So make sure to connect with him and also explore more info about Notary Pro. So that will be a wrap for today, and I will see you all in the next episode. Have a great day.